Good evening.
Good evening. How long
How's
were
it
you
going,
sitting in
man?
hold? Not bad. I got to look at the screen a little more. How long were you sitting on hold?
Uh, 28 minutes.
Really?
Yeah,
Uh,
I got the camera on my phone. I'm looking at it.
okay.
By the way, with all my fellow Gen Xers, I wanted to share two things. Number one is the sweetest sound in the universe.
Let's hear it.
Cracking open the first beer of the day.
You're probably going to get a 1,000. Definitely agree. There's going to be thumbs up and everything everywhere on that one.
Yep. And here's a bong rip.
Then the bong.
Yeah, it's late in the day. I'm sore and hurting, so.
Hey.
Getting old sucks, as we all know.
Oh, yeah. You got to kick back and relax. You got to do it. There's nothing better than being able to sit back, crack that first beer of the day.
Hell no, nothing like it.
Myself, not so much anymore. I don't know why. I just kind of didn't do it as much. I do like to sit back and have a nice rum. Same thing.
Well,
but it doesn't make that satisfying sound when you open it, you know?
No, it does not. But then again, in the younger years, I'll only speak for myself, but I know I'm not the only one who went pretty hard at it. So at this point, it's just like I reserve a little bit for like the end of the day. And since it's the weekend, I went and picked up a couple of tall cans of 211. So
there you go. I can say I definitely went a little hard. I probably got a couple years there where it's a little too foggy, more than it should be.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did a gig today for a charity event, and it's in the town where I live, and of course it was like 112, 113 today.
Yeah.
And I'm going on at like 4:30 in the afternoon when it's the hottest part of the day, so that was fun.
Wow.
Because you're playing and your strings it's so hot that your strings are burning your fingers.
I have not experienced that problem. I don't get much farther than playing a little on the couch or back in the day in a garage band. So,
well, it's just like there've been venues I played where they were old buildings and none of the wires and outlets were grounded, and so it'd be getting electrocuted by the strings, getting shocked by the microphones. I mean, everything. You touch the strings, you get jolted. You touch the mic, you get jolted. And everything was doing that the whole night. I've had that happen several times. Not fun.
And don't you worry about it frying out your equipment a little bit? If that just jumps a little too much?
And this is what stingers are for, surge protectors.
Okay, so you line all them up in there to make sure you protect your equipment.
Yes, everything runs through surge protectors to prevent any spikes or shorting out or backflow like that, just because I've actually had that happen before during a show, and it fried everything out to the point that I got jolted and the guitar caught on fire and the amp blew up and
holy shit.
Well, so I smashed the guitar and then destroyed the amp, picked it up and slammed it down. I took the neck of the guitar and shoved it through the speaker and left it standing there while it was going
Son of a bitch.
Oh, might as well make a good show of it, right?
Yep. I hope they appreciate it. I hope they appreciated it because they probably had no idea what that just cost you.
I have the chat up while we're talking. Jason, I'm actually in California, not Arizona or New Mexico, but I'm at the Colorado River on the California side in Blythe, so I can see Arizona from here. It's only 3 miles away. Yeah, the summertime here, it's bone dry and hits 125.
Son of a bitch. That's almost like camping out in Death Valley.
Actually, you're not terribly far off on that summation, although Death Valley is a few hours north of here.
Yeah. I seen it just had its hottest summer ever.
Well, the hottest summer they ever had in Death Valley was in 1913. They clocked in 134.4. That's the standing record.
Yeah, they were just saying it was the other day that they think they broke it this year.
They came close.
Okay.
They came close. It was like 134.3. They were off by 1/10.
Well, I ain't gonna quibble. I ain't gonna quibble about 1/10 of a degree when it's that.
Oh, I know.
You wouldn't catch me out there when it's 110.
Well, yeah, and it's been above 110 since like early June.
Yeah, I know. I seen that thing with that hiker that went there and was hiking in the sand barefoot.
Oh, that's stupid.
Burnt himself very badly.
Yeah, like I said, stupid. Look. As much as I love and prefer walking around barefoot all my life, which probably explains the terrible calluses I have, particularly with flat Flintstone feet. But the fact of the matter is out here, that's not a good idea. Between the heat and the thorns, it's one of those things when people walk their dogs, the dogs usually have shoes on.
See, I had the problem is one thing, I always wore shoes and I always wore boots that actually had a high shaft. I've always my life worn a nice leather boot with like an 8-inch shaft or a cowboy boot. And that was mostly because I always didn't want to deal with maybe getting bit. I got
a pair of cowboy boots
snakes everywhere,
many years too, but you don't want to wear them out here for two reasons. One, the heat, your feet are going to sweat so horrifically. For two, the ground here, since we're by the Colorado River, the water table's rather high. So the sand around here, one step, it's very porous. One step, you sink in halfway up your calf. And if you've got your shoe or your boot on, you can kiss it goodbye.
It's stuck.
Either that or it's going to pull the heel off when you try to pull it out of the sand. I've had that happen.
Damn, that's some stuck sand. That's some stuck sand, I tell you. That's because you get in there. I mean, I've also lived way up north where you got actual quicksand, sinkholes. I used to think it was a much bigger problem than it was. But
we have that out here in places too.
You had to watch, and I got up there one time and I was living up almost by the Arctic Circle, and up there they have this. It's like a floating swamp. All the trees are there, and it looks like solid ground, and you stand on them, and these trees start to sink, and they just keep sinking as you're climbing them, and you do not get above the water.
Where were you in the Northern Territory or Yukon?
I was just south of the territory. It was in the top end northern of Saskatchewan, just up past Uranium City. You know where that is?
Yeah, I have a general idea where it is.
It's up there. It's not quite
it's like
Arctic, but it's close. The ground. I mean, you don't have to go that deep to hit frost, even in the summer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's subarctic, so you pretty much have the same experience as folks in, say, Yellowknife or Fairbanks, Alaska.
Yes, exactly the same. Yeah, it was wild, but it was, of course, and it was fly-in only, so you actually had to even fly out to go get groceries.
Yeah, there's a lot of places up there that's pretty much your only option is either to fly or boat or walk.
Yep.
But that's not a hike that's really that advisable.
No, not really.
People disappear forever doing that stupid shit all the time.
They do, and there are a lot of them. They do it all the time.
Oh.
And it would usually be during hunting season, people would disappear.
Accidents do happen.
But you get a lot of tourists that never been up there before and didn't want to take a dive.
You don't know what they're doing, yeah. And then, of course, some of those aren't accidents.
Nope.
It happens. Now, I was going to mention, since, while I was waiting and in the chat and thing, I was going to put my 2 cents in on a couple of the subjects, if I may.
Go right ahead.
On the Edison Tesla topic, since, that keeps coming back up, I figured I'd put my 2 bits in, and it's this. If someone has a preference between the two, the question should be, do you prefer AC or DC current, direct current or alternating current, because alternating current is what pretty much everywhere uses. They don't really use direct current anymore. Direct current is like a generator when it's low on gas.
Yeah. And you would have, if they had went with direct current, you would have had to have power plants like every 10 miles.
Less than that, every half a mile or every mile at least.
Maybe, yeah. As
Well, early on,
technology might have made it a little better. But
well, early on, when DC was all they had, because of Edison's stranglehold, you know, and the fact that he was screwing Tesla over because Tesla worked for him. But the thing is that he had generating stations like every half mile to be able to continue to push the current down the line.
Yep.
And the furthest that they got away from the generating station was like 5 miles, because it would just die out after that.
Yeah, if anybody wants to test that for themselves, you just take yourself a power cord, plug it in, take a 20-footer, test it, hook in a 50-foot, and then go 100-foot, but don't increase the size of the wire, and you'll see what happens, even with alternating current. If you don't run it through a transformer, you'll run out eventually.
You'll discover what delay is.
Yeah.
Or loss of strength of current and signal, essentially, which is what happens.
You will. It'll get to the point where if you put in a basic power tool, you won't even get the motor to turn. So.
No, you'd be lucky to get the light to come on.
Yeah.
You might have better luck with like one of those old digital alarm clocks with the radio on it and the buzzer.
Maybe they didn't use a lot of juice. Well, maybe the real old ones did. They had all the tubes and everything else.
The ones that were just the digital display, it was just a plain old clock. You might be able to turn that on, and it might blink like half a blink before it shuts off. Okay. Now, that aside, Tesla is the clear winner, obviously, you know, with everything that we know now, you know, through over the years and things that have been learned. But, you know, Edison was to electricity and invention what John Rockefeller was to his competition in the oil industry.
Yep.
He wanted to completely monopolize and control everything, and he would do whatever he had to do to quell anything that was a threat to him. And Tesla, he quickly discovered, was a huge threat to him, and he fucked him over bad. Even long after Tesla went out on his own and made his own name, Edison continued to screw him over because Edison was hooked in with the government.
Oh, he did everything he could to
completely ruin him.
Oh, yes. Big time. Even publicly executing animals.
The very thing about Tesla that I think is what's most important, particularly why he was so good with energy and things of that and all that, is because he literally was energy. You see, when his mother was pregnant with him in Eastern Europe, where he was from, I think he was Ukrainian?
Yugoslavian.
Anyway. Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, he was there from the Baltics.
He was coming home from a shop, walking down the street while she was pregnant with him, and a lightning bolt struck her, and she was standing in the water because the rain had overrun the sidewalk, so she was sloshing. So it went straight through the womb and hit him, and he was born on the spot from the lightning strike. He literally was pure energy. That's why he understood it better than anyone.
I never heard that story about him. Never heard anything when he was younger. I just want to mention here, Scepter 6 in chat is Croatian. Now I remember, he's Croatian, but Yugoslavia, okay, Croatian, all the same area.
I know it was Eastern. I know it was part of the Eastern Europe. I just forgot which one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's actually a true story. And anyone that wants to, by all means, go look it up. Now, what was the other subject after the Edison thing? Oh, the Reagan thing. John Hinckley was the idiot that did that.
Yes.
And they just released him from jail on house arrest at his mother's house.
Compassionate release, though, I believe it was. Because he's at the end of life, and he's no longer. I think that was the reason they used.
Well, I mean, I know that the compassionate release was the reason they let Leslie Van Houten out.
Yep.
Here in Southern California.
I am surprised any of them.
As a matter of fact,
even given a decent chance of parole.
I used to live right down the street from Patton State Hospital for the criminally insane in Highland, California, where both she and Charles Manson were held at one time or another. And again, the infamous Chino prison, well, that's my hometown, so that's where I was born and raised.
Sheesh. Infamous.
If anybody ever wanted to know what Chino, California looked like when I was a kid, go watch the original Back to the Future. When he goes back to 1955 and he hides the car behind the sign and he's walking down the street where you see nothing but the fields and the tree line in the background. Yeah. And if you freeze it, you'll see a guard tower at one of the prisons behind the tree line. That was Cucamonga Avenue on the south end of Chino going towards Prado Dam in 1984.
I'll have to take a look at that. Sometimes I catch those things in movies, not always.
Well, I was present the day it was filmed.
Well, that would have been kind of fun. Mostly to get to see an actual DeLorean do something, drive around.
Well, it certainly did not actually go 88 miles an hour. They were not, because of that. That's basically an old wagon road that they paved, so it's very narrow.
Yeah.
It's like a one-lane road. You can't really pass too well. It's not that wide. The speed limit on that road is 25 miles an hour. I think they later raised it to 35, but that's about it. You can't go very fast down that road. So I guarantee you they were not doing 88 miles an hour.
No, I don't imagine they were. They probably couldn't get the permits to do it anyway for a shoot.
No, probably not. But then again, I had the subject of unions that was being discussed earlier.
Yes.
And I was telling with Robert, about, because, I'm mentioning about being a heavy metal musician. And, he was saying he was a bass player. Someone else was saying they were a sax player, and we were talking about that stuff. But in the midst of that conversation on the union subject, I had mentioned about, my involvement pertaining to, both SAG-AFTRA and BMI ASCAP.
Okay.
Because, of personal and family involvement in both sides of that for a very long time, as well as my own involvement. And I had mentioned in the chat the fact that, although I use the name I use, my dad actually is John Hughes.
Huh.
And Molly Ringwald's a fucking asshole in real life.
I've heard that many times.
Let me tell you about one such incident. True story. We had all gone to the premiere for The Breakfast Club at Grumman's Chinese Theater in the mid-'80s. I think it was 86. And there's a catty-cornered across the street. There's a 5-story car parking garage. And we had all parked up on the top floor. Now, the bunch of us had just, the family, us, had stopped and had Del Taco before we went in to see the movie. So me and my dad and my brother decided that it would be a good idea once we were, after the movie, when we were going back up the elevator to the top floor, when Molly Ringwald and her parents were with us, we decided it would be an excellent idea to have a fart contest on the spot in the time it took to get to the top floor. Whether it was real or not did not matter. Oh my God, we let loose horrifically. And when it got to the top floor and that door opened, Molly and her parents ran out gagging, and she turned around and cussed us out like we were some dumb swabby getting reamed by the admiral because we missed the spot on the flight deck and caused the plane to lose its gear and fucking go over the side and tear apart the goddamn catapult system and rip off the front of the fucking boat. You know, that kind of reaming. She cussed us out and told us what this horrible, disgusting motherfucking assholes we are, so on and so forth. Yeah.
And yet she always played the pretty princess, eh?
She was a fucking asshole. And that's a good part of the reason why my dad never dealt with her again. At least not directly.
Really?
But they never spoke again.
Jeez.
They never spoke again directly. No. She pissed him off.
That's the kind of story you never hear. That's the stuff you never hear about, you know.
True fucking story.
The little side thing, them little tidbit stories that never ever get out, nobody talks about. You know, that classic interpersonal, somebody was a complete dick and nobody will ever know scenario.
Pretty much. The funny thing is that me and Dad and my brother, we were doubled over, dying of laughter. All while, you know, all three of us are totally flipping her off while she's screaming at us. And I just finally looked up and I said, "Fuck you, bitch. Get the fuck out of here. Shut the fuck up." And then my dad's backhand hit me in the mouth. I got a bar of Lifebuoy soap shoved in my mouth for that night for half an hour when we got home.
Now, was it for the language, or was it because it was directed at her, or because it was directed at her and she was a young woman?
Yeah, and I was a friggin' kid. It's 1986, so I was 9 years old.
Okay, so yeah, it
was
just
for the
been for
fucking
doing
language.
that you weren't supposed to. Don't talk like that, son.
Yeah, I got the bar of soap in the mouth for the language, and trust me, Lifebuoy is one of the most disgusting ones you will ever find. That or Lever 2000. Those are the two worst. Lifebuoy and Lever 2000 are the two most disgusting bars of soap that have ever been shoved in my mouth as a punishment.
We have one question about that from chat. Was it they're asking, was it before or after the Breakfast Club? But you were saying it was the premiere. So that would have been, I guess, technically.
Yeah, when they have it at the Grumman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood.
Yeah, so that technically would have been during, I guess you could say.
Yes.
Yeah. They were asking whether it was before or after the Breakfast Club, but if it was the premiere, that would be during.
Yes.
All right.
This incident happened after the movie was over and we were leaving and going back up to the top floor to the 5th level of the car park in the lift.
Okay.
The elevator.
Yeah, you guys were all getting ready to head home.
We were already headed that direction. That was the whole thing, yeah.
Yeah. What a way to end a night. Go and see a premiere of a movie that wound up becoming an amazing Generation X classic. Well, mind you, a lot of his movies did.
Well, I'm in Generation X, 1977. Thank you very much. So 1977, that's definitely the year that legends were born, like Star Wars and Elvis dying. Yep. I had to throw the dying in their part, but the Cicera, the pause, Very strategic, but that
You
hit
did.
it home.
I want to keep going, and I want to hear some more. If you come back, I'd like to get you to call back in again another time. Just have a chat. You
Sure.
You can carry some stories, great, but I got some lines stacking up here, so I'm gonna.
Alrighty then.
I don't want to cut it out, but I want to let everybody get to say their piece.
Oh yeah, that's totally fine.
But that was thanks for sharing that story. That was great.
I will return myself to the chat box to see everyone in there very shortly. Carry on.
All right.
Party on, dude.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah, and be excellent to each other.